Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube workshops. I'm Joshua, and this is Rooftop. Today, we are going to explore something different. We're going to explore landscape painting. Now, I'm sure we must have, as we were growing up, we must have seen Bob Ross's videos and how he had inspired not only the artists but the people who want to pursue art. So in this workshop, I will not only be teaching you techniques on how we can create a landscape painting, but I'm going to talk about a little bit of some misconceptions or some different ways or different approaches that we can move forward with landscape painting. Now, landscape painting initially, there was no origin for it. It was there in cave paintings or even in the Renaissance, we must have seen. So these artists, what they used to do, there's a French term called plein air, Plein air. Now what this means, it means open air. Now open air painting is something that artists used to do to understand nature, understand how the colors worked, understand how the environment, the weather, and everything was there. And these paintings, they were done very quickly, very rapidly done. Because the whole point is not just to create a landscape painting, it was to grasp the weather, it was to grasp the atmosphere during that certain span of time. Because if you see during evenings, the sky changes very quick, the shadows change very quick. So in order to grasp all of this, to grasp the colors, what they used to do is they used to have these relatively quick sessions, you could say about maximum 45 minutes to an hour, where they try to grasp as much as they can. And what this does is they not only get a painting done, but it helps them understand colors more. It helps them understand, okay, if I want to create something from memory, what can I do? And this experience of repeated painting is what these artists used to pursue. Now we can start with our landscape painting. We'll start with how we can do our sketches, and we can see how we can start the painting process as well. Let's get started. So now when we're painting, or when we start drawing a landscape, we shouldn't try to go for every little detail that is there. Now if you look at me, you can see my eyes clearly, my face, my mouth, my hands, my fingers. But if you look at my hair, you cannot count each and every strand on it, right? So what you can see is a shape with a color. So when these artists used to do landscape paintings, and now when we start a landscape painting, what we're going to see is how we can simplify these complicated or complex trees and mountains and grass, and simplify it to the easiest way. Now before we start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some masking tape, and I will put it towards the border here. Now what this will do is it will create a type of frame for a painting. I will take this and I will place it about half a centimeter in, just like that. Now you need to make sure that the paper that you are using has enough thickness. So whenever you go to buy your stationery, especially when it comes to painting, you would want to search for paper that has about, you could say, a minimum of 200 GSM. It will be written on the cover. So this paper is very helpful when it comes to painting. Otherwise what happens is that the paper can blot, or the paper can get ruined when water is added onto it. over here as well we can add. We'll take a tape this way and we'll put it about here, roughly the same distance inside, or the same amount of space. Now, one of the reasons why we do this is because it helps create a border for a painting, which makes it visually relatively more appealing as well. Now you must be wondering why I have two sheets of paper, one where I'm going to do the actual painting, what may be the other for. So the other paper is for me to show you the difference between certain techniques that we already use and the difference in those techniques and the one I'm about to show you. Because we don't want the paper tearing when we take off the tape. I'll put one here. Okay. Alright, now we can start. So when we start our initial sketch, we want to keep it as rough, as simple as possible. So over here I'm going to draw the horizon first. Okay, hello? Okay, fine. Okay. So in case you missed out on anything I said, we started off with the horizon, which would be our eye level, and then we started adding the mountains over here. Now when we draw for landscape painting, we do not take precise measurements. We try to keep it as minimal and as basic as possible. So when I draw mountains here, I do not think, oh, I'm drawing a mountain, I need to get each and every line straight. If you look at a mountain, the rocks that are there, the trees that are there, they are at very random positions. So we do not have to take anything to the T. Now we can place this here. So if you look at this bush, it's a bit smaller and higher. Whereas if you look at this one, it's a little lower but bigger. So that is because of perspective. Now when something is close to you, it will appear bigger. But the further you take it away, the smaller it gets. So using Lenovo. Both are Lenovo, I think. Oh no, one is Leap. Okay. Okay. Alright, sorry for the technical difficulties. So as I was saying, when we draw anything, right? So the further the object is, the smaller it is going to be. And the closer the object is, the bigger it's going to be. So over here this bush is smaller. So which is why it's bigger. So the closer an object is to the horizon, the smaller it will be, and the further away it is from the horizon, the bigger it will be. Okay. So now over here, I can draw the sun. Once again, our reference is at the top right of this video. Okay. Now we can start off with the painting. So whenever we try to do landscape painting or any sort of painting, we should always try to start with the larger area first, or the background first. So over here I will start off with the sky. I will take some white color here. And then in this I will add a hint of blue. Take some white color here and just a touch of blue, as light or as less as I can. If you feel like it's not blue enough, you can always add more blue to it. Okay. Now that we have this placed, we can start off over here for the sky. We can add this blue here. Right until this side. And then over here we can add a bit of yellow to it. Now we need to make sure it doesn't turn into green since we have added blue to it. So what I can do is I'll clean my brush. Rinse off whatever water I have in there. And then take a little bit of yellow. We try to take as little as possible because we do not want it too strong also. So if at all it does turn out a bit too strong, then you can take a little bit of white again and mix it into it. Something just like that. And just like that over here. And I can try to take this a little bit higher and keep going back and forth. Just like that. And clear this off. I'll take a little bit of red again. Place this red here. Take a bit of white. Maybe add a little bit more red to it. And then we can start filling in this area here. And take this part here. Bring this part down. I'll clean my brush. I'll take this yellow again and I will start to blend it within this wet paint. So if you want to blend the colors, you have to make sure that your colors are wet or the paint hasn't dried yet. Then I can clean this part. Remove all the unnecessary water. Pick this blue again and then blend it downwards here. Just like that. Now I can mix this red and blue. I'll take a bit of white again. Put it here. Add a little bit of blue. You don't need a lot. And a touch of red. So we want that purplish color here. We can add this here as well. Just like that. We tend to make it brown in color. Now, yes, there is mud or there is sand on the mountains, but due to the atmosphere, so you all must have heard of perspective, the 1-point perspective, 2-point perspective. So these are more of linear perspectives. But now when it comes to painting, we have atmospheric perspective, which basically means that the further an object is or your subject is, there is atmosphere between you and the subject that you're trying to paint. So due to the atmosphere, it will lighten up. If you see like a building from far away, or if you look at the mountains from far, you'll see that you do not see it crystal clear. You see it a bit hazy. So that is known as atmospheric perspective. But when we go to paint that, there are certain colors which show depth. That is known as color perspective. So we are going to try and explore all of this, and we'll try to see how we can utilize it. Now for the mountain, since the sky is very red and bluish, what we can do is, let me just make this one a little better, a little more clear. I'll take some white. And I'll take some red. Over here. We don't want it too we don't want it too strong. Just a little bit so that we can cover up this upper area. Just about that much. And then I can add a bit of blue into it for the area down here. Again, we're trying to keep it very subtle. Just like that. Okay. Now what we can do is we can start working on the mountains. I'll take my brush. So since the sky has a lot of red, purples and blues, the color of the sky will reflect onto the mountains over here. So since if you look at atmospheric perspective, it says that there is atmosphere between you and the subject you are looking at. So since the sky is a lot more reddish and bluish, we will have the mountain turn a little towards purple or a little towards purplish blue. So now what I'll do is I will take my blue and take a bit more. Clean my brush. I'll add this blue here. But now we're not only going to use light blue. We are going to use a bit of purple. So I'll mix a bit red in here. And then I can mix a little blue until I get the right color. Maybe a little more blue. I can add to this area here. Okay, great. Now I can start painting the mountain. So we'll try to keep it as loose as we can. We do not need to be very wary of, oh, is it going outside of the line? Is it inside the line? Take this here, a little bit this side. Bring this part here. Now what I can do is I can add a bit more blue to this so that I can give the mountain a bit of a gradient. Just like that. It will be very subtle, it won't be super visible, but once you complete the painting, it will be very visible. I'll take this again, and over here I can merge it with this, just like that. Okay, perfect. Now I can add a little more paint to this. If you feel that your paint is drying or running out, always take a little more paint so that you can remix it. Take this right here. I'll add a bit of yellow to it as well. Now this yellow turned out to be a little too strong, so I can start adding my red into it again. Add a little more red and add a little more blue to it until we get the right color. We can add this area here. Just like that. Bring this part down here. Okay. Now I can add the other colors that lay on top of it. I can mix in a little bit of blue again. And start adding these colors. Take my white, take my blue, and then a little bit of red. Just like that. There you go. clean this brush, and then I can blend in the edges like that. Now we can move on to these mountains as well. I'll take this color, maybe make it a little bit more blue. Like that. Bring this one here as well. So there will be a very subtle difference between these mountains. Just like that. Okay, great. Now if we feel that we need to add something more to it, we can go back and do so. So in this I can add a bit of white. A little bit blue. There you go. Okay. Now we can start adding the grassland here. So now for the grass that is there, we all know grass is green. But when atmospheric perspective comes into play, it may not exactly be green. So what I can do now is I can take green color here. And I'll mix a little bit of blue into it. Some green also is a very strong color. And then in this I can add a little bit of white. Until we get the correct tone. Or what else we can do is we can take blue here. We'll take this blue, and with this blue we can add red into it. And then add a little bit of white. I'll take some white separately first and then mix this. And if we need, we can take more white into it. Okay, that should be good. So over here we can add the grassland that is there in the back. Now remember, since it is further back, we cannot exactly see the grassland, but we can have an idea of it being behind us. I can add this here. We add it in the middle as well. And this I can add a tiny bit of yellow. over here. Now, the more I add yellow to this, the more greener it's going to get. So if you look at this, it's already starting to get green. Like right about here. Okay. Okay, now I can add white to this. And we can start painting it from the background to the foreground. Just like that. Now we'll start introducing the green colors. Okay, we can take this here. We'll take a little bit of this color, mix it up. Now what we'll do is we'll cover this entire area wherever we see this color here, and then over this we can add the other green colors that are gonna come. Just like that. And over here also, in a very rough manner. Here is a small line, there are a few dots. Here also. Okay. Now if I mix, I'll take a bit of blue, very little, and in this I'm going to add yellow. So you'll start seeing green get formed. Over here I can add this. And even in between we can add a little bit of this greenery here. Then add more yellow to this and add a little more blue as well. And cover this entire area over here. Right about there. And then we can add this color a little back and forth where we may feel necessary. So we're going to do the bushes over here at the last, because if you see, the bushes are over the mountain. Just wipe this off. Now one good thing about acrylics is once they dry, even if you drop water onto it, it will not ruin the paint. But it can be a double-edged sword as well. If it dries too quickly when you want to paint over it, then you'll have to repaint that area again. Okay. Now I'll take my blue, I'll start making my green. So if you see, we have different greens. We have a dark green here, a slightly mellow light green over here. We have a bluish green as well over here. But now what I want to create is a nice fresh green, like that. Now in this green, I can add a bit of white to it. Now I need to see how strong I want this green to be. Oh wait, so here's the thing. Now when we try to lighten up green, our first instinct is to take white and lighten it up. But what that does is that it just makes green lose its color. So if you look at this green here, now what I can do is I'll add a bit of white to it. As you can see, it is getting lighter. The more white I add to it, the lighter it gets. But although we are achieving the lightness, the green starts to look a little pale. So instead of adding white to green to lighten it up, what we can do is we can add yellow back into it. So if I mix yellow right here, you can see it is lightening up, while it is keeping its freshness or the freshness of the color to it. If you see, this is also getting lighter. Now if I take more yellow and add to it over here, see about this side, it is still green and it is a bit yellowish green, but you can see how this very same green, the difference between this lightness and this lightness. When you look at the trees, you'll see the lighter leaves that are there. They are more yellowish in color. They are not very pale in color. They look very fresh. So when we go to lighten up any color, we try to use white as a last option. So in case of green, especially secondary colors, for primary colors, that is red, yellow and blue, we can use white over there to get the correct tint, and then we can mix it up. But for primary colors, for secondary colors like green, like purple, for those we would need to add yellow or whichever color depending on it. Okay, so I will I'll mix this all up and see what color we get first. Or I can just remake the color. I'll take a bit more blue, take a bit more yellow as well. Okay, so now that I've got my green, if I want to lighten it up, I'll take a little bit of water and mix into it. We need it slightly thick. So I'll take this, maybe make it even a little lighter over here. Okay, that seems good enough. So I can start spreading this around. You can take this all the way here. Now one thing about getting your colors to not seem out of place is whatever color is there around your painting, you can take that color and mix it into this as well. It doesn't have to be a lot, but you can take a little bit so that a hint of this color is over here or a hint of this color is over here, wherever it may be needed. So now if you look at this green looks very out of place. It does not match the atmosphere this is in. So what I'll do is I'll take a bit of let's say this blue over here, just a little bit, and mix it here. That now if you see, it is starting to match with the background. I'll mix this entirely. There you go, like that. Mix this over here. Bring this part here as well. And then I can add a bit of this blue into this green and paint it over here. And you can be very rough with it. It doesn't have to be, proper brush strokes or very carefully crafted strokes. What we're doing is we're just spreading the color around wherever we see this color. Like this. So plein air that I told you about, the paintings were done in this manner. So you had to be quick to capture the atmosphere that was there, or quick to pick up before the light changes or the sun goes down or the shadows start moving. I can take this color here. I can maybe add a bit more white to this. I'll add a bit of white here. Mix it into this green. Take a bit of this blue. Mix it here. So you'll have both these colors now in this color. And then place it down here. Now there may be some cases where you try to replicate a drawing and you're mixing all the right colors but it's just not matching. The reason for that would be is that you have a variety of reds, you have a variety of blues, a variety of yellow, and each of those colors, when you mix them, they come up with their own unique color. So if I take, say, this red that I have and this blue, I will only be able to get a certain type of purple. But if I take a different red and mix it with this blue, then I would get a different purple. Okay, now I'll take more yellow over here. I'll keep this yellow here. It's okay if there's a bit of green into it. I will add a very tiny bit of red into it. So I'll put this red here first, and then I'll start mixing it here, because I do not want a very bright or a very strong yellow. I want it to be very subtle. Take a bit more white. Right over here. That should be good. Take a bit of red and mix it in here so that our yellow is not too strong. If you feel it is too strong, you can take your red again. And you can keep mixing yellow back and forth until you get the right color. Okay, this one is good enough. Something just like that. And you can be very rough with it. Right now what we're doing is we're painting shapes. So if you look at the shape of the sunlight falling onto the grass, we're painting those shapes. We're thinking of it as shapes and colors, not grass and mountains and bushes. What that would do is it would overcomplicate the painting for you. And put this part here, just like that. I should cover it up. So this is called painting in layers. So I added a yellow at the bottom first, then I'm gonna add a bit of green on top, and then I'll add yellow again, and then green, and then yellow and green, and you go back and forth. Now I'll take this yellow, I'll put it back here at the top, so that the green from the bottom will be shown through this yellow. Like that. Over here also we can add a little bit. Something like that. Then we can keep adding layers and layers to it. It's about being very subtle with your painting. Maybe take a little more yellow here and add it to this part. If it's too strong, you can take a bit of white and mix it here until you get the color you're looking for. Add this over here a bit, add a bit here. Or what you can do is you can leave it a bit patchy as well. Just like that. So if you leave it patchy, what will happen, right, is from close up you would be able to see each and every brush stroke. But when you step back, you must have seen videos of people in the art galleries where when you take a step back, they squint their eyes and they try to look at it. So even for this now, while you're looking at this, I want you to try squinting your eyes and having a look at this painting. And you will just see all the colors, all the brush strokes and all this all of a sudden merge together. That is what we're trying to achieve. Over here also. Now once I'm done with this painting again, we'll try to squint again and see how the difference. I'll take the painting close to the camera so you can see it from up close. And then when I take it back, you can see the difference and how noticeable it is. Now we can do the bushes. Now for the bush, I will show you how to darken green without adding black to it. We don't add blue also to it. I will show you the trick. So I will take, now I have green already ready here, but what I would like you to do is take your primary colors and try mixing it and coming up with the colors by yourself. So I'll take this blue and I'll put it over here. And take a little bit more. And a bit more. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is we can start with the lighter area and then we can put the shadows over it. So I'll take my yellow now. Now yellow is again strong, so I'll keep this yellow aside. And then I will mix this. I'll take a bit of water, mix this and see if I get green. Now see, it's already starting to turn green. I'll take a bit more yellow. Or maybe I might have to just take this entire yellow over here. Mix it in a bit of water. Okay, so what I'll do is, if you look at the reference image again, I'll start by painting this top part. So what I'll do is I will paint this part here. Let's see, we take this part here, we'll get the rough image. So this is normally how you would do a landscape painting, or this style of landscape painting. Very rapid, very quick with your brush strokes. And we're just trying to capture the rough essence of what the bush looks like. Okay. Now we'll take this, and what we can do is I will add a bit of black into this so that I can show you the difference. I'll take a tiny, oh, it's a lot. We don't need that much black. I'll mix this into my green. Okay, this should be okay. And we can add this over here. And just like that. And then if we want, we can take a little bit more green here and mix this. Okay, now this is green mixed with black. This is what it would look like. I'll clean my brush. I'll take this green again and just put this down here very roughly. Now while I paint this, can you guess in the comments what color am I going to mix it with to get it into a darker color? Okay, now we have this down. Now to darken green, what we do is we mix red into it. So red is a complementary color of green. So complementary colors basically mean that if you look at a color wheel, now red you could say is at the top. A complementary color would be what is at the exact opposite. So at the opposite side of red is green. So I'm going to take this red here. I already have green on my brush. Take this red and I'm going to mix green into it. And take a bit more green. Now you can see how it's a very soft, it's a very gradual dark color. See that? You can see the difference. So I'll put this over here, a little bit this side, a little bit over here, and a little bit there. And then I'll take a little bit more green, take it over here, so that you can see the difference. Now this green looks like a much darker green, but this one looks more like black rather than green. So you can use black, but whenever you do use black, you always try to use it as a last option, or you try to use it as minimal as possible. So here, if I add this, you can see how much darker it is from this. So instead of black, we can add red to it. You can see this is the green we were using. This is the color we got when we mixed black into it. And this is the color we got when we mixed red into it. Alright, so now I will take this green that is there. Now we may need to mix a little bit more of it. So I'll take my blue again. Maybe a little more blue. So if you add blue into your green also, it will become a little darker, but it would start turning more bluish green, or more like a Prussian kind of green. Over here, we can take this, We can start spreading this around. So I have a question saying, can we create this with oil painting? So we can create this with any sort of medium. It doesn't have to be just acrylic, just oil, or just watercolor. It can be whichever medium, but the way you use each medium differs from one to another. Like for acrylics, if I want to dilute it a bit, I can add water to it. But if I want to dilute the oil paint, I would need to mix either linseed oil or a bit of turpentine, or maybe a combination of both, depending on what type of look you're trying to achieve. Okay. So I hope that answers the question. So when it comes to color theory, it applies to every medium. Or when it comes to you trying to paint anything that you like, you can do it in whichever medium you prefer. It's just a matter of how you handle those mediums. And this I'll apply here. I'll spread this out. I can spread this out very roughly at first, because what I'm trying to do now is just cover up the area over here as well. Just like this. And then what we can do is we can just add a few random brush strokes this way to show, like leaves popping out, or like a stem sticking out, just like that. We make it very random in a very natural way. We can do this one as well. Add a bit of water to it if you need to, and then spread this out. Just like that. Now we can start darkening this green. Now in this green, what I'll do is I'll take it over here, add a bit of red to it, little by little. I'll add a little red over here, and then I can start darkening certain areas. Just like that over here a little bit. Now the reason why I took this green separately is because if I need to use this green again, I can always have access to it. I wouldn't need to mix the paint again. Here also we can add a little bit to this corner. We can leave some space for the light. So when you look at a tree, the branches and the leaves that are there, between them there is a very slight gap. So through that gap, light comes through and bounces off through each and every leaf or stem, which then give it a slightly glowy kind of effect. Or you can see light come through it. Over here also. So you can create this painting in whichever medium you're comfortable with. But one of the reasons why I am using acrylics is because it is relatively quicker and easier to use it. So acrylics, they dry really quick, whereas if you see oil, now see, there is no good medium, there is no bad medium. It's just a matter of what you like. So for me, naturally, I'm an oil painter. But one of the reasons why I'm using this is because oil painting requires not only a rather large setup, but it takes a very long time to dry. It's not something that dries within a couple of hours. Some oil paintings, depending on the weather that you live in, it may take maybe a week, and it can take up to 6 months also, depending on the amount of oil you use. So one of the reasons why I'm using acrylics is because it's an easy medium to use. And especially for beginners who are getting into painting, I would say acrylic medium or acrylic paints is one of the best ones to get started with. Over here I can lighten up this green with a bit of yellow. Now see, I haven't used white anywhere. So the more yellow I add to this, the lighter the color will be. There you go, like that. Over here also I can add a little bit. Over here also. Try to keep it as subtle as possible. And then here as well. And here, maybe a little bit at the bottom. Maybe over here also I can just add a quick brush stroke. A bit at the corner. Just like that. Okay, now we can always see if we need to okay, so sometimes what can happen is from your brush the bristles can come out sometimes. So whenever you see that on your painting, you should try to take it off immediately, because once the paint dries, then it is gonna let the hair of the brush stick to it, and it will be a little difficult. Or sometimes even if you are capable of removing it, it will leave a print of the hair over there. Okay, now we can finish off with this area here. I clean my brush. I'll take a bit of white. I'll put this here. I already have a little bit of yellow. I don't need too much. Yeah, I can take this yellow. Okay, now if you see, there is a lot of water in this. We do not need that much water. So I'll take this white separately. Take a dot of yellow, maybe just from here a little bit. Mix it in here. Take this white. Just like that. If I feel this is too white, I'll take a bit of this yellow that I had and just spread it around in here. Just like that. Okay, great. Okay, now what we're going to do is, now that we're done with the painting, it's time to unbox it. So we'll take this tape. Now, one of the reasons also why I put this tape is so that I can show you how we can remove it. So we'll try to pull it off at a 90-degree angle here and try to be as gentle as possible. Can be slow. We do not want the paper tearing. You can take out a bit of this water here. Since this is still wet, I'm gonna try removing a little bit of the water. Okay. Next we can remove this part here. Now let me just clear up this table. If you have any more questions, you can always drop it down in the comments and I can answer it immediately for you. There you go. And then we can do this area here. And then over here. Pull it off at a 90-degree angle. Very gently, or as gently as possible. And there we go. So this is the landscape painting that we have created. Now if you look at it from up close, you can see that it is, very patchy in certain areas. And you can see over here also there are brush strokes, here also there are brush strokes, drawing over here. So there's a question asking, are we going to draw snow on mountains? So right now in the reference that we had, there was no snow on it, but if at all there is snow, what I would suggest is, instead of making it just plain white, what you can do is you can add a small touch of blue to it. Because again, we spoke about atmospheric perspective and color perspective. So I'll tell you about it again. So atmospheric perspective is basically when there is a distance between you and an object. Like it can be in kilometers, it doesn't have to be like just this much. There is atmosphere between you and the object. So that atmosphere that is there, it will lighten up whatever you're looking at. So if you look at a building from up close, you can see it crystal clear. The grass over here, the trees over here are very green, they're very lavish, they're very fresh green. But the further you go away, the atmosphere comes in between. So what this will do is, this will create a sense of depth, the atmosphere. And then when you paint it down, instead of painting green over there, the atmosphere will turn it slightly purplish. Plus if you look at the sky also, we have different colors on the sky. So these colors will reflect onto this area over here, or it will reflect onto whatever is there in the background or in the distance. In this case, the mountains. So if you want my advice on painting snow on the add a slight touch of blue to it. What I prefer using is ultramarine blue. So you can add a small dot to it, and then you can add it for the snow. And if at all there is any shadow for the snow, you can add a little more blue and you can get a shadow to it. So I hope that answers your question. So let's have one final look at this piece. if you look at this, it has a lot of patches over here as well. And even if you look at the mountain, it is still a little patchy, but these patches were intentional. So as I said in the beginning, that we are not trying to draw mountains, or we're not trying to draw bushes. We're trying to draw the shapes and the colors that we see in them. So now as I take it back down, I want you to squint your eyes a little bit, or keep your phone or monitor at a distance and squint and look at it. You will see all of these brush strokes that are there. It will automatically blend the color and the brush strokes, and you will get to see the whole image as it should be seen. So thank you guys for joining on a landscape painting. I hope you enjoyed this workshop. So every day we have workshops at 12:30 and 5:30 p.m. So for more information on our workshops, you can have a look at our website at Rooftop app, and you can download the app as well for more information on our courses and our books. I hope you enjoyed this workshop. Thank you.